Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Ida. I'm here with my co-founder, Henri, and together we are building OKcontract. As Juan just mentioned, actually we need to improve developer tools and accelerate onboarding to Web3. And this is exactly what OKcontract is building. Actually, we really try to take out the pain of development, especially on client side, and we have created a special technology which we'll be discussing here. Okay, so. Yeah, so basically, transactional interfaces will play a major role in the blockchain technology adoption. But most of the time now we see that each project is building their own interface, and there are not so many applications that can embed any smart contract or is really manually built today. So we have seen a few projects like Uniswap, for instance, who manually implemented a couple widgets for their partners and distributed their smart contracts on other websites. But traditional websites today really struggle to embed transactions. And why? Why it happens? Because basically, front ends have to interact with smart contracts to execute smart contract functions, read data, and listen to events, and even like manage data upload for decentralized storage. So here we see basically on the client side, website will need to communicate with wallet, with IPFS, with blockchain, and regular website really doesn't have all these capacities. So basically, we were thinking about this problem, and on the front-end side, basically the purpose of the front-end is really simple and shouldn't be so complex. What we need is start with an intent of a transaction and basically think about what users want to do. So typically, we want to swap XA tokens for YB tokens. We want to, for instance, stake them, those B tokens, or we want to mint an NFT or buy the floor of an NFT collection, or even upload some data, like an image, to blockchain. So this shouldn't be so complex. But today, the current projects are all taking the same approach, like building from scratch, and it's very complex and time-consuming. So I will pass now the mic to Henri, who will explain our approach at OKcontract.
Yeah, so hi everybody. So just a bit about the solution that we are taking in at OKcontract. First, let me contrast with the way people develop dApps today. Usually when you develop the front end of your dApp, it's a very long series of hundreds of lines of JavaScript code, usually per method that you want to call, especially if you want to customize and make, let's say, a well-thought, detailed user experience in your application. So for instance, in the example that Ida mentioned, we have to take care about the user balances, we have to take care about events which come from the wallet, like chain changes, maybe address changes, if there are several addresses which are managed by a given wallet. And all these details, in fact, add complexity in the transaction. And you go up to the stage where, for instance, if you look at Uniswap, which is a very good and very detailed implementation of a front end, you have up to 500 lines of JavaScript code just to call one method of one contract. So there's a lot of burden that goes in that development. So we thought, we sat down and took a lot of time to see how we could do things better, starting from the approach that Ida just mentioned about doing intent-based specification. And basically, the approach we devised comes down to three things. The first is how we specify the smart contract interaction. And I have a question for you. Do you think that JavaScript is a good specification of a transaction? No, good answer. That's a good answer. Because if you look at all this JavaScript code, the semantics, what you really want to do is completely lost. So what we want instead is to specify it better. And then we'd like to have maybe some GRAL, which is the automated creation of the transactional interface from the specification that you have just written. And finally, and to answer one of the questions that someone had for Juan, is how do we reach a much wider audience for Web3? And that is by embedding these interfaces in many more websites, including the Web 2 websites. So how we go from Web 2 to Web 3 to gain thousands, millions, and maybe then next billions of users. So the first step, how we specify the contract interaction. So what we have created at the OKcontract is a new language, a new programming language to specify the interaction, which we call Lambda script, and which is a purely functional language to specify what we would call a low-level intent of the transaction, or a high-level transaction, if you want, a high-level specification or a low-level intent. And by doing this, with this low-level intent, we obtain a program in Lambda script, which we compile into bytecode, and then have the user inputs for that transaction run inside a VM, and then actually make the transaction. So it's kind of a new way, in fact, to specify an intermediary representation, which makes the job easier. And when we have that representation, then we can generate an interface for any transaction. Like take this bytecode and immediately get an interface fully generated without writing it manually. And this is not just, a small drawings. All you can see here in the slides are actual screenshots of actual transactions on very different smart contracts, because we cover from DeFi to NFTs with pretty nice, agreeable user interfaces, and they were made with 0 lines of JavaScript code. Or we wrote a JavaScript runtime once, but as a user, you don't need to have a single line of JavaScript code. And then when we have this, we can easily embed the transactional interfaces into any web page or web app. You take your website and you put that transaction right in, and all your users will be able to connect to it with their wallets, and basically without a single line of JavaScript code. This is an iframe, and you don't need anything on your web page. A bit more details. So basically, the widget interacts with the wallet, which connects with the blockchain, and that blockchain, of course, can be a VM, and as well connects to IPFS and custom OKcontract nodes, which provide the relevant data to make that transaction, and which as well provide some web services which are required for a better user experience, like having full text search when you need it, etc., etc. Some details about the way and the features that we have in respect to IPFS is that we use for now one service called Lighthouse, which is another partner in the PL Filecoin ecosystem, which pins, in fact, to IPFS via Filecoin. And it does so directly from each of the user account. So basically, the good thing in that approach is it's not using our key. We're not building a centralized service for all our customers, which would be using our pinning service. Basically, each of the user is using their own pinning account, basically, and to pin in a decentralized way. And we also, of course, retrieve data from multiple gateways, including D-Wave and Cloudflare. Back to Ida for a demo.
Okay, So here, yeah, I'll just show basically a use case we did for a news site who wanted to allow his reporters actually to upload some images that they see in real life to blockchain and then mint them as NFTs. So basically here we can just see a person who used exactly the Lighthouse service, uploaded an image, and very quickly, yeah, I think it was very quick demo. Actually, maybe I will start here to do some comments. So basically added some description to this image, and then basically signed with the wallet, the transaction, and basically which allowed to upload this image with a description to IPFS using Lighthouse service, and then basically go and check it on, for instance, a site like Luxware, and this see this minted as an NFT in his portfolio. Yeah, so this is like really quick example. We have few time left, so Henri, I pass it to you.
No, we pass it to you, so we have a couple of minutes for questions. So I repeat the questions for everybody, including the people upstairs. Is why did we design a new programming language instead of reusing an existing functional programming language which would have maybe similar qualities? So I would say it boils down mainly to the runtime. So there are several adaptations that I am someone coming from the the OCaml community, and of course I would say my first intent was trying to use OCaml. A lot of standard library which needs to be adapted to the I would say the blockchain specificities, and it's better to have data such as the wallet addresses as first-class values, to have the notion of contracts as first-class values, because it allows a much simpler and easier specification and a much shorter code. So it boils down to it instead of using records for everything, because that would make it more complex, in fact, for everybody, especially as we are designing as well a graphical editor, which makes it super easy to just input formulas, a bit like Excel formulas in appearance, but of course behind it it's Lambda script. But it will be so right now it's not yet released because we are still in private beta. But of course the Lambda script libraries will be open sourced and released when they are finalized and when the specification is finalized. And we have time for 30 seconds, maybe one last question. End of the time slot. Thanks everybody, and happy to talk to you afterwards.
Thank you.